For this, ladies and gentlemen, please join me as I invite Mr. S. Ganesh Kumar, former Executive Director, RBI. Would you please be kind enough to put your hands together? Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, good afternoon. I was told to talk about AI. First, I'll have to keep you all actively involved. That's what this first AI is going to be. In fact, maybe I'll have to do some AI-based, I don't know what to call it, deployment to find that whenever I have to bore people, I get only the post-lunch sessions. Why is it that that happens? Maybe that's something that I'll have to take as one of my projects. Anyway, jokes apart, let me talk about one or two small points, and I was told that I'll have to talk about 10 minutes, so you're all really relieved. I'm not going to bore you for very long. But I'll try to set the tone for today's discussions. I know a lot of discussions have happened around cybersecurity. That's a big challenge. Not too sure whether the challenge is going to be growing in scale or whether it is, we can say that the worst is behind us. We'll have to wait and watch on that. But more importantly, what now is going to stare on us is how do we use the information that we have got. Very recently, the Data Privacy and Data Protection Act has been passed. That's going to stare on us. But then, as being part of the financial sector where a lot of information processing has been based on certain foundations, certain parameters, and certain frameworks, I don't think we are going to be really impacted by that. But at the end of all this is, in fact, when I try to talk about saying, why is there such a lot of importance, such a lot of interest given on processing information by the BFSI sector? If one were to look at it, and my hypothesis is like this, if I have, let's say, a 100-rupee note in my pocket, there are at least 100 people who are eyeing that 100 note and they want it. I'm not talking about the thieves and the pickpockets who want to take the money and make it theirs, but I'm talking about regular businesses, regular enterprises, regular enterprising people who would like to say, now Ganesh has got 100 rupees, can I take the 100 rupees and make some better use out of it so that I get profit? In the process, the country gains, he also, Ganesh, gets some benefit. So ultimately, it's a question of trying to use money, and without money, nothing moves. Of course, there are, most of you who are using WhatsApp messages will find that money is not the only thing in the world. A lot of such messages will come. But at the end of it, finances does make any economies move, actually go in the right way. And the faster money moves, the better it is for the economy. We have had payment systems like RTGS coming in. Money moves in a matter of a fraction of a second. And the faster the money moves, the faster it is available for people. More money available means they can use it for more churning. More churning means more production. More production means more purchases. More purchase means more investment. More investments mean more savings. Ultimately, that results in more GDP of the country, which is what everybody wants. Anyway, going on that, what do we need to see that this money, this financial sector works very well? It's all based on data. So we've got a lot of data, a lot of information. I'm really not going to call it data because data is something which is in a codified formal form. Information is something which is available everywhere. As I talk now, I'm sure there are a few people here who would have by now sent a message across to their friends saying that we have had a boring speaker to start with. Better that we don't attend such sessions. There's somebody else who takes one particular quote of mine saying, how does AI have a relationship to GDP? And there is a debate which has started on. Information keeps going, keeps coming, keeps getting processed, and a lot of people are actually using information all the time. Right from the time the human brain is born, which is perhaps when the baby is born, till the time possibly one meets the end of life, we are continuously processing information. To such an extent that one will wonder that the amount of information that an individual processes is so huge. Can anybody make a guess, instead of making it just an address where I'm doing a monologue, how much of information do you think you and I will process, let's say, in a period? Could be a year or could be, let's say, in our lifetime. Any idea? If we can talk in terms of bits, bytes, megabits, megabytes, gigabytes. Any guesses? 10 terabytes during a year or during your lifetime? During a year, 10 terabytes. Do we have a computer system with us which can store 10 terabytes? Whereas we have the human brain, which we ostensibly say not only stores the 10 terabytes, but processes the 10 terabytes and also multiplies it across multiple people. It could be our own family, it could be our workspace, it could be casual people whom we meet, goes on and on. So the biggest advantage, and at least I'm actually thankful, lucky to be in India, because like that award-winning book, I'm not going to give the name of the person, The Argumentative Indian, that also is AI incidentally. We are also a huge amount of information processed, active information, AI again, processed set of people in the world. And that is why, for us, everything ultimately comes to information and we have to process it. So what is going to be the future for AI in the banking and financial sector? Having been a regulator, I know most of the sessions that I handle, there is already always a question saying, what is it that the RBI is going to think about it? Because in some way or the other, the RBI's actions, the RBI's regulations, what the RBI does has an impact on all of us. And therefore, the question will be, what is RBI going to think about AI? Even before you ask for it, I will say, I would actually bucket it in 4 individual buckets. First one is AI. All the 4 are AI only. The first AI is this AI which I spoke about, acquired information. We have a lot of information. We acquire the information as financial institutions, fintech companies, the entire sector which is actually conglomerated here, we acquire a lot of information. Most of this information is not ours. We are actually fiduciary owners of this information, which in another session we'll talk about data privacy and data protection. We are all fiduciary. So a lot of acquired information is there. This whole set of lot of acquired information is very difficult to process, notwithstanding the 10 terabyte that we are processing in our brain. We need capabilities to process them. Now, to do that processing, there's been some technology called artificial intelligence. I'm not going to talk about it because there are going to be esteemed speakers, panel discussions, which are going to follow where we are going to actually analyze it threadbare. So use AI for what? We use AI using this acquired information for providing what I would call as appropriate inclusivity. What do? Once you have this whole lot of information, using the AI tools, we could either use it for finding what a person is or what a company is, what does it require. If we are a bank, whether that company requires a loan, in which case do we have an opportunity, or does a company have surplus money, in which case do we get deposits from them, etc. Ultimately, use it for appropriate inclusivity, which is what the regulator would like to do. And at the end of it, get an objective. What is that objective? The objective is to see that you get an appropriate level of improvement. Again, an AI. What is this improvement? Again, as banks, compared to many of the other banks in the rest of the world, you've all heard about SVB. If you look at one of the good things that have happened in India is that there have been, to the best of my knowledge, there's been no bank failure which has impacted depositors ever since anybody in this room was born. There have been bank failures earlier to that, but that has not happened at all. There have been bank failures, but where either that results in a merger or an acquisition or a conglomeration, something like that, but the depositor's money doesn't get lost. They may be delayed in getting it, but the money is never ever lost. Contrast it with some of the Western countries where there has been a bank failure even last week and people have lost the money. That brings us the trust in the banks in India. If that trust has to continue, in depositors, trust has to be built in the borrowers as well, which is one of the objectives which the Reserve Bank has been taking all along to see that loans are safe, loans are repaid, loans are serviced, and the various other things. You must have seen that for housing loans, RBI said that if the documents should be given within a maximum of 1 week, that was the direction which came just yesterday. Point what I'm trying to say is that trust is something which has to be brought in. And if this trust has to be brought in, data has to be used appropriately. Data has to be used incrementally, meaning we have a lot of data, use increment data, and provide the benefit to our customers. AI has an opportunity here. Now, before I end up, only one small point I thought I will talk about. Is AI going to be available the way we are actually seeing it? To my mind, the regulator may not put any frameworks or any restrictions on how AI should be used. But there is already a clambering view from the industry saying that they want AI to be regulated because, as you would have already heard about, AI can be misused for a lot of purposes. And in the financial sector, even though we may not be misusing it, because somebody who may be an indirect user of our data, if he or she misuses it, or if that company or the entity misuses it, the entire financial sector gets the blame. And therefore, there is already a movement, and this is not specific to India, it's a worldwide movement, where developers of AI, users of AI, channel partners of AI, everybody wants to say that we need this to be regulated. Again, to my mind, I don't think there is going to be an AI regulatory body. Possibly what's going to happen is that there's going to be some amount of self-regulation. So which means that as BFSI, we need to have our own standards, our own benchmarks, which will say that this is what we will use AI for, this is how we will use AI for, or this is what is the data that will be subject to AI. So this is what I think is going to happen. And if this is what is going to happen, two things will happen, will have to be done. One, we will have to change the current modes of processes that we are doing. Now, whichever function that we are doing now, thanks to the implementation of AI, if we have decided to use AI, that process is going to change. And if that process has to be changed, we need to actually be ready for the change process. So that is something which is going to happen because of AI. Not on the data, not on the information, but on the process. So that's one thing which will happen. And the second thing which will happen is that we need to be continuously evaluating whatever these changes are bringing in. And as long as that change brings in benefit to us, benefits to our constituents, benefits to the regulator, benefits to the economy, and finally benefits to our organization in terms of profits, then I think we would have achieved our goal. So this is where AI is going to go. There are no easy shortcuts. It's going to be tough. It's going to be difficult. But it's going to be easy because one thing which I have a lot of confidence is that the average intelligence, AI again, of the average Indian, which is AI, is really very high. And unfortunately, I couldn't get AI for that. And that being the case, I think the 10 terabyte processing capability plus the AI tools is what I think is going to give in a new BFSI sector, a vibrant BFSI sector, which is going to show the way for the rest of the world. And events like these will give inputs to all of us. We can learn a lot, we can debate a lot, and I'm sure that is what is going to happen in the next 3 hours or so. Wish you a great, fruitful session, and at the end of it, we would have got a lot of acquired improvement in the information that we want. Thank you very much. All the best.